Let's speak to a former chief executive of the Football Association, Mark Palios, who joins us now. Hello, Mark.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. We're just wanting to chat about this idea of miking up referees after the extraordinary events of Sunday and another statement today. As I understand it, the FA and the Premier League have been offered the chance to do this, but have rejected it. Why would that be?
Well, I wasn't aware that they'd been offered the chance to do it and rejected it, but one has to question why would they reject it, and if it's because there's something to hide, because they don't actually want to have the conversations with the referees and between the referees and the players, then one has to question why that's the case.
See, Mark, I actually think of people making the comparisons with rugby and football about referees being mic'd up. The reason that the referees are mic'd up in rugby is not necessarily to justify the decisions. It's because in rugby, at one stage or another, you'll get 16 bodies all around the ball. And when a referee gives a penalty in rugby, then he clarifies to the crowd why he's given that penalty. The worry I've got in football, number one, the players will come out far worse because some of the supporters won't believe the context and the language that the players use and how they speak to referees. And number two, referees will have to justify their decisions, and that could cause more problems in the crowd.
I appreciate, and I said that this morning, that in fact, the way it started in rugby was the fact that the decisions of referees are a bit more difficult to discern, even if you played the game for many years. The point is not about getting rid of the bad language particularly. The point I was trying to make is that if you see all the bad stuff that we've been through, and if you want to make changes, the FA at the moment respond to things. Okay, so you respond. I'm talking about leadership. I'm talking about the fact that, as everybody who's played knows, that if you actually want to stop back chat to referees, it's actually quite a simple thing. And there are very few things in life where it's simple. You give them a yellow card every time they do it. It won't take too long before people, if a chairman's paid £30 million for a player and he's sitting in the stand next to him rather than being on the pitch, I think you might find things will change pretty quickly.
Mark, I agree 100%. Some of the back chat that goes on to referees and the way they're spoke to is absolutely appalling. But it has to start from grassroots level, because in rugby, from mini rugby, from when the players are 6, 7, 8, 9, they are taught that the referees is God, basically. Whatever decision he gives, you do not back chat him, you do not swear at him. So it has to start at grassroots, from managers, coaches, parents.
Disagree. I disagree with that entirely. Because, as I say, there are very few things whereby, I spent years in terms of change management and in terms of business. This is one of those things where you're changing a culture. It's difficult to do. So, yeah.
No, it's not, Mark. No, it's not. You start with a directive from the FA and you say to the parents, the coaches, the managers around the pitch, you do not back chat, you do not swear at the referee, you do not go back at him. And it might take 10 years to change that culture. I've watched football and I've watched rugby, and the culture around rugby is totally different towards the referee. The referees are alienated, and some of the stuff they have to put up with in grassroots football on Sunday mornings is an absolute disgrace. That doesn't happen at rugby, because the younger players are taught that the referee is God.
See what guys have to put up with. My daughter's referee, and they have to put up with it, so I understand that. The point is how you fix it and how you can fix it quickly. If I showed you the letters that I got when I was at the FA, which, take for example one I remember very vividly, that came in straight after the regular bun fight at Old Trafford between Arsenal and Man United, and the father writes in and says, "How on earth can I tell my kids to respect the referee when you see this that goes on the pitch?"
No, Mark,
well, I disagree with you. I actually think if you can stop it at the top.
No, Mark, I'm not having that, because I'm a father whose children played football, right? And if they back chat the referee, it's my responsibility as a father to stop my children from doing it, not the players because they watch them. You can't say, I've watched a player play on the TV, and the parents go, actually, because Wayne Rooney does it, I can't stop little Johnny doing it who's 10. Not having it whatsoever.
I mean, and you're right, you're probably a great father. A lot of fathers, I would hope, would do that. But the reality is that the kids look at what goes on the television, they think that's acceptable. I mean, do you agree or don't agree in terms of the issue for a referee is he makes 4 or 5 decisions in a game, big decisions. He's got to get most of them right. And he will get some wrong, but he's got to get most of them right. The rest of it is man management. A recording, and I know there's an issue as to whether you make it available to the crowd or not, but a recording of the referee's conversations with his officials is, if you like, a record of how he's man-managed the game. Now, if that's the key thing in terms of assessing a referee, I would have thought that the PGMO would welcome having that there on a recording. And if you look at most businesses these days, they record conversations. They record telephone conversations.
Mark, I agree with you, because the only people who come out looking bad if the referee's mic'd up, trust me, will be the players, because of the way that they talk to referees and the way they approach them. The thing with my disagreement with the way football referees are seen as the enemy by everybody. They're seen by the enemy as the away team, the home team, the managers, the players, the pundits, the media. So they're being more and more isolated, they're under more and more pressure, whereas in rugby and in cricket, the officials are seen as part of the game. That's what I think the problem is.
Yeah, it's a cultural thing, and we just disagree on the way to fix it. I think it's a harder job to try and fix it down at grassroots level than it is to fix it at the top. And that's why I say there are very few things where you change culture with one big thing at the top. But I actually think this would work.
Let's develop this whole issue and talk about the Respect campaign, because we were talking before the show, we believe it's gone. Players don't have it for other players, managers don't have it for other managers, managers don't have it for officials, it would appear at the moment. So where has the Respect campaign gone? You've got a really good theory on this, haven't you?
Well, it's almost a cliche. We hear managers say it the whole time, it's all about winning football matches, and that pretty much justifies almost anything. So I'll give you another example. Today I heard, this week I heard Brendan Rodgers give an interview, and he said the bottom line about Luis Suarez is that he's a top-class football player. And I'm not talking specifically about Luis Suarez here, I'm talking about any football player. The bottom line in there, shouldn't be how good they are at football. It's also to do with how you behave, and it's not acceptable for people within football to tolerate anything provided the person in question happens to be very good.
I don't know any sportsmen who get to the top who don't have an unruly desire to win.
Yeah.
And that is the be-all and end-all. And I was, again, guilty of having a bunch of kids at the age of 9, teaching them that if they're going to get on in life, life skills of being a winner, of actually being in a team environment, looking along with your mate, because I've always had that family mentality of my teammates. I will do whatever I can for you, for us to be on a winning side.
So let me ask you a question, Flash. Of the people that you played with,
yes,
probably maybe professional football, you probably played with like 50 different people. How many of them are you still mates with now?
Oh, again, but it's mates or is it friends? Friends, 4
people,
or 5.
Well, you called them family just now. So.
Yeah. But that's why you're in that dressing room. When I then changed clubs and I played against them, I would do anything I could to make sure we won.
What point were you trying to make when you asked how many people he's friends with now?
Because Flash was talking about like your team are like your family and you'll do anything for them. But then it's not really about that, is it? Because they're like, as you say, you're friends with like 4 or 5 people. So they're not like family members for you now.
But they are in the moment. This is what I'm trying to get
because
to. And in the moment, when you're in the dressing room and you're preparing all week to get the end result, which is what it's all about. I was lucky that I wasn't put in dilemmas which was really, really on the edge of morality, if you like. Mine was like, basically, would I grass my teammate up? No, I wouldn't. Would I be a martyr?
But isn't that the same thing?
No, it isn't. No. Because would I be a martyr? Yes, I probably would. And would them other people do it for me? Probably not.
Well, and this is what we were coming back to about when you were saying at the beginning of the show, why has no one said who this Chelsea fan is? There's general like a law that you learn when you're very young at school that you don't grass people up.
I can tell you now, I've never once said to my son, always stick up for your mates. Never once.
It's not something you
because you teach your son as an individual right and wrong, and you teach him to make good decisions.
Right. What I'm saying though
himself.
What I'm saying is when your friend to me, like when a friend of yours does something that's wrong, like significantly wrong, you say to them like, "You're my friend and I love you, but what you've done there is out of order." And what I wonder sometimes is when you see people within football, whether anyone actually says that to them.
Yeah.
And whether the reason why I'm coming back to it is because what I said to Flash about how many of them you're still mates with, they're not people who you
said friends.
Yeah.
See, I have friends
let me
and
finish.
mates are
They're not
completely
people.
different
They're not
things.
people who you actually care about. You just have this goal of winning. And if you tell them that, then that might undermine your ability to win on a Saturday.
I learned from me going down the road of sticking up for people and finding that the first chance they had to drop on you from a great height, they would do it. So that's why they weren't friends. They were like mates or acquaintances.
Let me bring in the Morecambe goalkeeper, Barry Roach. He's waiting on the telephone to speak to us. You've been listening to what the chaps have been saying. And Barry, it's interesting because you are in a situation where you do have that camaraderie in the dressing room, so you'll identify with what Flash has been saying. Where do you stand in this debate?
It's a difficult one, really, to be honest. I think what you're saying fundamentally, you should all know the difference between right and wrong, but as a teammate, in a dressing room, you do stick together with the boys, you look out for one another, and if it all depends on the situation, really. If he's wrong, in a big way, I'd have no problem pulling a teammate aside and saying, listen, you're out of order there, you shouldn't have done it. But depending on what he's done, if it comes into the public domain, depending on what he's done, I'd possibly back him.
We're hoping you're enjoying your Saturday afternoon, and we're going to make it even more enjoyable with another edition of Saturday Live.
You look at Chelsea, there's no matter. Matters the cog that makes these tick. So away.
What do you think the matter is?
What do I think?
I don't think it doesn't matter in this game.
That really has got warmed up is Everton. Rory Flanagan's watching their game against Fulham. Fulham opened the score, and what have Everton done?
Yes, well, I think David Moyes has listened to my advice. Risa got booked in the first half, so he's moved Miralas onto the right to try and exploit that, and he's run down the outside of the right and put in a cutback for Fellaini to just rifle into the top corner from close range, and we're all square.
We are
and
indeed.
I thought, following from David Mears' pattern last week with food and football, I was hoping for some crisp football, so I brought out the crisps.
You see what you've started, David. Now, last week, I remember you telling us that Marie was going to make you some beef stew. Was it? Steak and kidney pie, sorry. Yeah. Absolutely, steak and kidney pie. What's she making today, David?
She's not talking to me today, Darren.
You're cooking your own tea today, are you? Tell us how the Spurs game's going.
It's nip and tuck still at the moment. Wigan are going on forward quite a lot. They're giving Spurs a good game. Spurs need to get into this a bit more. They seem to have left themselves in the dressing room. There's a goal!
Oh, goal. Let's go to David. He's watching the game between Spurs and Wigan at White Hart Lane. David.
Darren, I told you, Wigan are 1-0 up. Ball has come across from a corner. Friedler's gone up with the forward and he's cleared it down. And Ben Watson has buried it. Now the linesman is giving him over the line. It's a goal. Everyone's celebrating. Spurs are still in the dressing room.
Why do Spurs need to play 4-2-3-1? One lone striker against Wigan, who are struggling in the Premier League. They should have been playing two strikers and going on the front foot. And I bet you any money now, what he'll do now is he'll take off one of his midfielders and put Adebayor in, which he should have done from the start. Has Martin O'Neill pulled one over on his old boss, Neil Sherwin?
No, he hasn't. It's Villa that have taken the lead, and I'm almost trying to jump through the TV to celebrate with the players. It's been that long since I've seen a goal. Bonlahor is volleyed in from about 6 yards out. There was a ball put in from the right to the back post. Header knocked down, and Bonlahor just ran in and buried it into the roof of the net from 6 yards. He's injured himself in scoring, and he's down receiving treatment now. But most importantly, Villa are 1-0 up.
What AVB has done here is he's taken off the foe and he's put on Adebayor. And just as the substitution was happening, the camera went into the fans, and an awful lot of them are shaking their heads in bewilderment.
Last week, the bet butler told you that the 3-3 between Reading and Fulham looked value. I asked you right at the start of the afternoon whether he could strike twice. He's in fantastic form, one of the best in the business. Here's why. Let's go to Rory Flanagan.
Yeah, well, it's 2-2. I told you before that Everton have got to keep going forward and not shut up shop, but what did they do? They took off Jelavic, brought on Distant, and within about 60 seconds, the ball's come in from the right. It's completely gone past everyone. Berbatov's fluffed it, but Sidwell, a la Tim Cahill style, arriving at the back post, tapping it in for an equaliser, and now we've got about 3 minutes of stoppage time.
Let's go to the bet butler now, because I bet he's feeling fairly pleased with himself.
Yeah, well, we said it here too. So there's always goals when Fulham play, and Everton has got a good record as well. So, you know, it was a 14-1 shot. I hope you backed it at 16-1 if you're some bookmakers, but it's looking good if you're on the 2-2. It's now 1-10, the game, so it's a draw. 10-1 Everton, 10-1 Fulham. The bookies couldn't split them at the start. They can't split them now. And when I told you at the beginning of the show, what did we say? When you can't split two teams, what do you back, Chris?
Back the draw.
You back the draw, and you know the score. Back the draw.